Welcome to Untrained. Welcome back, folks. We're in episode, I'm told, 2B with Inga, and we want to talk about grit. So, hey, Whitney.
Hey, Iris.
So we wanted to talk about grit with Inga, and Whitney, I'm going to have you tee it up because this was kind of in line with some of your ideas.
Yeah. So we were talking about the definition of grit and how we understood it and really thinking of it as sort of like grind culture, push, drive, and how grit might be evolving and how we understand how we persevere, the behaviors around that to be evolving. And we were talking about Inga's website and how when you look at her website, she's got this really like bold, strong, powerful image. But if you follow her on social media, as we both do, LinkedIn and Instagram, you see a woman who, yes, is bold and powerful and taking leisurely vacations and really nourishing herself and playing and exploring. She's all of it. And how does all of that relate to grit? So we want to start by asking you, Inga, what is your definition of grit and how would you explore and explain how you live that for yourself personally and how you coach that for your clients?
Because my language is not first one is not English, it's actually third one, and I learned it from MTV and BET. So I looked it up, what the grit means. This is what I always do with any words, what we are labeling something. And I found what it means: courage and resolve, strength of character. And strength of character, this is what resonated for me a lot because both of my coaches in Lithuania and US, was number one thing what they wanted to instill in the athletes is grow their character. And the funny thing was what first coach showed me how in a few months you can change your body. And when I came to US, he actually showed me what we can change our characters too, because I was so proud to keep telling everybody, this is who I am, take it or leave it. But then with this kind of certain character features, what I had, it resulted in not really good situations where it didn't resulted in successes. My character traits, I realized I need to make some changes in myself. And I feel like this grind culture, what we just talked about, it's part of the character building. However, for what kind of purpose we need to be aware with, like why we're grinding and what does that mean? Because as you can see in my website, I am inspired by breaking limits. I also always add in sustainable way. And the process of that is being vulnerable, understanding what certain parts we're weak at, and it's okay. We're in the process of learning. So this is where it comes from. What I talk a lot with my clients, understanding the pain, because grit resonates. That grinding, being really going through the pain, but there are different kind of pains, and athletes learn it quite quickly. Certain pains grow us, but it's like soreness, like really, really sore muscle. But there's also different kind of pain. It's like shooting pain, and that's usually where we are about to injure ourselves or injuring ourselves. And at that moment, we need to stop it. We cannot go further, because if we go through that shooting pain, we're going to be out. All our work will be wasted and gone. We will take so much longer to recover, not only physically, but also mentally, from our confidence, rebuilding from the injuries. Is like long journey to the next level of growth. But if we are aware what next push will result in injury, we stop. And this is what we are teaching ourselves. That's professionalism in understanding when the push means grow and when push means injury.
I have I've been thinking about this topic since we decided we were going to talk about it, and I have an interesting metaphor. So I've been pushing pretty hard because I have some projects that I care a lot about. And, unlike in athletics, like burnout without the body involved, like you get exhausted and you lose your morale and your mojo and all that stuff. So I've had my coach support me. She's like, you need to set 15-minute timers to like rest. But it's so interesting because with my kids, they need to learn the other end of grit. They need to learn the like persevering through not wanting to unload the dishwashers or put the laundry in or whatever. So it's like we have these times when we set up 15-minute timers and they need to push into grit and focus and persevere. And I need to paint or listen to music or sit outside, right? So I offer that to talk about the two different ends of grit, the two different elements of grit, because in your story you mentioned that, but I think we just need to explicitly say those are both parts of grit.
Those both part of the managing our energy and managing to have that energy to maintain the performance, right? Or by pushing to be able to keep evolving our attention, and then having those training moments for ourselves to keep bettering ourselves. And lots of research shows also that our willpower is way much further than we think. We are much more stronger when we think, with weights, with anything. So us training ourselves, knowing what we are stronger than we think is a very valid thing. However, there's another end, what you just mentioned, when we overdo it. And high performers, this is another problem what we're solving with my clients, because they can do so many things and they know what they can go to do everything a lot, but it comes the time when we crash. And again, this is the crash what we were talking about, what leads to injury, because fatigue, physical, it's really easy to notice, but our emotional, mental, social fatigue, it's way much harder to notice, and it takes way much longer to recover. So us to chill, to let go. This is the constant practice what we push and pull, like in sprints. You sprint really fast and then you walk very slowly back. In marathon, you're not going 100, but you're going maybe like 30, 40, and you keep managing that pace. Like you have the watch and seeing, you know what, if you're gonna rush it, you're not gonna finish it. And then, okay, why are you there? So being understanding of your capacity and how to use that energy in a smart way, that's actually very beautiful at the end of the day. And this is what we talk with clients. How do you want to end your day? Do you want to be completely depleted and come back home to your family who are super important to you and not giving anything? Yeah, there will be some times where maybe work will be demanding more, but we need to be mindful of our capacity and accepting that.
You both are working with clients more often than I am now. What are you seeing are some of the challenges when it comes to, I'll use the word burnout. Are you seeing generational challenges of burnout? Like, are you seeing, people having trouble with rest and recovery? What are you seeing? I know it's like a very broad question, but maybe just a couple things that you're seeing with your clients when it comes to, when we talk about grit, we often talk about burnout because if we kind of swing the pendulum too far on grit, especially in the States, we have a very grind culture heavy place. We can go into that place of burnout. So what do you see as a challenge, and what do you think might have to go with the word grit in order for us to have a balanced perspective?
When you mentioned about the word, what I use with my clients is professionalism. Grit, I feel like we really need to understand what professionalism means. And professionalism means is to be really strategic in managing our strength, weaknesses, and energy, how we manage that. And the biggest obstacle what we need to go through is a feeling of guilt. Guilt when we are trying to rest. So recovery and rest, it's part of performance, part of the grit, part of the action of us being active in being professionals. So all those parts, recovery, for me, I define high performance in 5 parts. First of all, you always need to understand the purpose of that performance, like why you do whatever you're doing. Then you need to know what preparation you need to do. Then performance, it means focused freedom, is when you already trust the preparation and yourself what's done, if it is trustable. And then letting go, to being able to be open to experience and open to adapt and adjust your performance. As we talked in previous time, it's all about high performance. It's all about alignment. It's not about maximum alignment. Yes. Third part would be pausing to probe. So that means to understand and analyze what went well. This is the feedback part, what we talked about, and what could be better for the next time, and then recover and rest to replenish yourself.
So I will take this one from an internal family systems lens. It's a modality I've been training in and I receive. And it's just simply that we have different parts inside of us, right? We have different parts that want different things. And one of the things that I've been learning is that our parts, like I may have a part that came online when I was an athlete and responds to finish lines, responds to deadlines in a like all out way. And if I have a deadline that I care about and I'm facing, my 51-year-old self might be like, hey, intellectually, I understand. Maybe I'll make it. Maybe I won't. I want to give myself a lot of grace. But I may have a much younger part that unconsciously just goes berserk when I have something I care about and a deadline. So getting to know the various parts inside of us that get triggered in certain situations, in certain stress situations, and working with them, I have found to be the most, to be one transformational way. And I still have a lot of work to do with myself around this, but I'm finding things change when I do this. And the other thing I will say is there's a event called Grace, Grit, and Glory. It's a local celebration of women rowers. And I just like putting those 3 words together. That if you want the glory, you need the grit, and you also need the grace. We all need the grace in order to hold it all together. And I think that's what we've been talking about. You know, there's the push times and then there's the receive times. And if we don't have them in equal measure, it's not going to work out well in the end.
It's just such a brilliance what always Whitney brings. And I really love this, again, what you're mentioning, working together with yourself, not against yourself, right? Mm-hmm. We can go through grit, through the painful moments, through the push together with our understanding, accepting where we're at, and then mobilizing our strengths to go there. And helping with self-talk instead of like, you're the worst, you're a loser, you have to push for this, otherwise you're completely nothing. I mean, again, what we talked before about the feedback, right? Where it becomes really unhealthy. And then this is glory and grace and grit, they do come together. And then again, achieving big things, it could be in a really inspiring, inspiring way, even exciting with the playful way. It doesn't really go through the pain with this purpose, with this meaning. And this is another thing what I wanted, the last one maybe mention, when my clients face this challenge where they need to utilize the grit, the character strength, and they know it's going to be good for them. However, they're contemplating, should they suffer in the situation where I'm in, because I'm afraid of this pain or suffering, because I don't know of the outcome. And I tell them, you're going to suffer, or you stay or suffer if you make the changes. However, which suffering is more meaningful to you? This is what means cancer. This is what in that performance, this is the purpose.
I wanted to ask one question, though, because you had brought something up, Whitney, that's really interesting. Because the three of us, we probably know how to grit in the sense of like, let's just go, you know? And so I think we probably are working on the grace piece. At least I am. But what about for those that are scared of grit, right? Or maybe scared's not the word, but some who, you gave an example of your kids, who are new to the concept of effort and good effort, right?
Effort through discomfort.
Like my kids. Yeah. I think my kids also, the effort of doing their chores on the weekend. So that's a new concept for them. So is there something we can offer, or maybe there's also another word with that, right? Like good effort. How do we get someone on that pathway? We know how to kind of tell people, let's kind of find a way to rest, recover, or do all those things, have a little more grace. But what if someone needs to be pushed a little bit more or needs the push?
Actually, when I look at my life, I need to push myself a lot to go to training. It's horrible. But I know when I'm going to get there, it's going to be amazing. After, I will be thankful to myself, but go there. So it's all about the play, at least for me. Any chores or things, how we approach it, it makes a huge difference. It can become really painful and really unpleasant thing what we're doing, full of stress, or it could be a really fun and interesting way to do it. Cleaning, I used to tell myself like, oh, this is a waste of time. My time worth is way much more to do something else. Why I need to do this? I can hire someone. But then actually it's meditation, and I really like the way how I clean my house. But I'm not saying like every week at this time I need to clean. I tell myself, I will get that feeling when my body actually wants everything in order. And then I will go with that. But those difficult and hard parts, we can create these rituals, this play exercises for ourselves where it's actually easier for us to approach, instead of, again, giving ourselves that demeaning feedback of like, oh my God, it's going to be so hard. It's so bad. It's so painful. I mean, of course, when we set ourselves up for this kind of experience, what else to expect to feel?
That's true. That's true. Mine are quick 3 things: motivation, accountability, and time limited. I think when we make it time limited, 15 minutes, you're going to do it. Somebody knows that I said I will do it. Research says when you tell somebody you're going to do it, you're more likely to get it done. And then figure out what motivates you. Okay, on the other end of this, I'm going to get an allowance, or on the other end of this, I'm going to get a chocolate, or whatever it is. Use play to motivate yourself and trick yourself into it.
I love this conversation around grit. So if there's anything else, I'll wrap up with what I'm hearing. I think I'm going to walk away with grace, grit, and glory. I think that's a wonderful alliteration to take from this, is that grit without grace is sort of missing half the equation, right? So that for me is what I'm feeling. How about you guys? If you were to sum up today and what you want the audience to take away?
For me, it's knowing how powerful we are, and then what we are way much stronger for whatever we think about ourselves are. And I'm sure all of us had experiences where we proven that, and not forgetting that. Because, so easy is to remember our failures. However, our wins also deserve memory and appreciation for us to making that effort, showing up for that, and acquiring those skill sets, acquiring those endurances and strengths, and knowing what we are able if we need to, if we want to.
Yeah. I'm just really appreciating that I know the two of you, I know our stories enough to know that we've all had a very narrow view on what success was and some darkness that accompanied that pursuit. And we have such a wider, softer, more interesting, more playful, more versatile lens on what high performance requires for the performance and for the human. And I'm just really taking it all in and really touched by it.
Well, Whitney, what do we say at the end of every podcast?
Keep untraining.
Keep untraining. And if you like what you hear, if you love what you hear, we would love for you to become part of our tribe. Subscribe. The rhyming was on purpose. If you want to be part of the tribe, subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for listening.
Whoop, whoop.